have a language of love. Oh, if you only knew that which goes on in this universe, in this galaxy, and how are you related to it? Oh, I'll tell you this. I'll give you a hint. This planet is increasing in light. It really is. It may not look like it right now. It is. Other planets have gone through what you are going through. Decisions, light and dark. What you'll tolerate, what you won't. What you really want on the planet and what you don't. That's where you are. But I'll tell you, the light that you strike here, called planet Earth, is measurable in consciousness by other planets, by other groups of planets, some of whom are very aware of you and are waiting for you to join a consciousness group who also understands what's going on. What you do here, specifically in the next 100 years, will change that which is what we'll call the light quotient of the galaxy. The more planets that go into that which is awareness changes the galactic framework, if you want to say. I'm trying to give you words that don't make sense because the language of spirit is not human. But love is. All this to say, you're really important. All of you. To what happens here, what happens to you, what happens next to you, and what happens eventually with those around you. Yes, I'm speaking of other planets. They've always been there. Do you really think that this is the only planet that developed life? Honestly, you really think that? When everywhere your scientists look in the galaxy, you have the same elements with the same processes. What are the chances in trillions of planets that one or two might have this happen? And the answer is it wasn't one or two. It was thousands have had this happen. Called life. You always want to make them look strange and different and monstrous. What if most of them looked like you? Would that shock you? That the same process happened there as here, and it had a little push or a tweak like you did. That perhaps your DNA is not necessarily that of Earth. What if I told you that? That's getting a little too strange, perhaps. All in love. There is something else going on. It's big, and you're part of it. Can't you feel it? Old soul, can't you feel it? There are processes you have yet to discover that are wonderful and beautiful and will be seen, acknowledged, tested, and proven that have to do with your DNA. You have no clue. Medical experts, professionals, don't want to test the things that I'll tell you about. What if I told you that the energy of love and compassion affects your DNA? Your DNA, actually, the chemistry of your DNA has antennas on it. That's the best receptors on it. That's the best I can give you that you will understand. And that's not accurate. But let's say that you can visualize that, and you can see that. And when love comes around, and when compassion comes around, it starts to change not just your mind or your consciousness, it goes right into your chemistry and makes a change and gives you opportunities to change your own life, your own chemistry. It starts a process of cascading positive love if you want it to. You might receive it and reject it, not even know it. Because you weren't designed, you would say, in this life to do it. Or somebody told you you couldn't. The worst one is when you have a spiritual guide who says you're not worthy to talk to God. And that's happened too, hasn't it? But here's the truth. There are those processes within you that respond to esoteric things and start a process within you. Now, my partner alluded to it, but even he doesn't understand it. Perhaps you're here for the first time and you think all of this is nonsense. Give it a couple of years. Because if it's true, it festers. That's the best word I have. It attaches itself as true. Love, compassion, kindness. And you can't get rid of it. And then you have the opportunity to let it grow or not. And if it does, it leads you to examination of yourself, perhaps. Why do I do this? Why do I do that? How can I improve this? How can I be a better human being for those around me? It starts to go in that direction by itself. And you're saying, well, what is that? Is that some psychological process that I'm not aware of? And the answer is, no, it is not. It's a DNA process. What does DNA have to do with how you think? Everything. In 2012, the scientists made an interesting discovery. They discovered what the rest of the human genome did. Once they mapped the human genome, there was this mystery. They only saw 3%. It created the genes. What does the rest do? Over 90. What does it do? Everything. It's responsible for who you are. It even includes your Akashic record. It's esoteric. It's splendor. It's all the things that you wish were you are there. And you don't know it yet. There is so much hidden in this old energy. But when it starts to change, things change for you. You have already experienced some minor shifts in your culture, and you have not celebrated it as though it were different. And yet it is. Hundreds and hundreds of years in your culture, a sameness was there of old energy and the way people worked and how they acted to each other, and the biases were always there. And suddenly, in your lifetime, it starts to change and shift. Have you noticed? What do you think about the Me Too movement? How long has that been going on? How long? And the answer is your grandfather, your grandfather's grandfather, your grandfather's father's grandfather. It never changed. Oh, but it did in your lifetime. Now, that ought to tell you something. People are starting to care more about each other. They're trying to make bias differently. And you'd say, well, good luck with that, because it's always been a certain way. Yes, it has. Watch it change. The world is starting to decide what it wants. And right now, it has a far higher level than it did when you were born. Did you notice? Did you feel it? Are you aware of it? This is the shift. You're magnificent. That's what love can do. The more love you can give and receive, the more you can love that which is yourself, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that says, I count. I hold a light. And I'm going to show my light by how compassionate I am. Because I am loved by God, I am loved by myself. I count. And if you can go to that place, dear ones, your DNA starts to shift. Because the love that you've come in with, called that Creator, starts to manifest even within your chemistry. And the first thing that happens is you start to realize you're living longer. And that's another story. Is it possible that consciousness can change lifespan. Ask a physician who works in an operating room about that one. And they will say it all depends on the attitude of the patient of whether they survive or not. They've watched those who are elders keeping themselves alive literally until their grandchildren will graduate from the school and then they pass. What does that tell you? Consciousness is in control of your chemistry. That's just number one of so many points that we have taught. But the big one, love chases away fear. Love chases away that which is the attribute of a person without self-worth. Compassion winds its way through your DNA in such an interesting way. And then one day you wake up and you say, I'm different. I feel different. I'm not afraid. I'm treating people differently, and I didn't study anything. And then they realize there's been a change, not just in how they think, but their very chemistry of their body. Living longer, being more healthy, all of these things controlled by you. And the control that you have, the king of that is love. Is there anything more I could give you than that which might save your life? And there are so many who don't believe it, who don't want to go there, and the guides will just stand next to you, if you want to call it that, and watch you even go into self-destruction. And they won't say a word until you ask, Dear Spirit, what is it I need to know? Do you have the courage to ask that tonight? Dear God, Spirit, all around me right now, what is it I need to know? And then be quiet. Instead of asking for this or asking for that or deciding you need this or that, you just let it go. Dear Spirit, tell me what it is right now I need to know. And then in the quietness that follows, your intuition eventually will start to poke certain places, and some of you won't like it. I told you I wanted to know that, but not that one. Don't go there. Get ready for it. But understand that that's pure truth. What is it you need to know? Might hurt. Might not be what you want to know. But believe me, some of these things will save your life. Because you ask, and because we love you. Blessed is the human being who has the courage to believe what they don't know and ask the question with pure intent about what should be theirs to know and what might help them the best right this minute. For these are the ones that are heroes of this age. These are the ones who will carry more light than any other. And there are a few in this room who know exactly what I'm talking about. Heroes in the making. The subject of the day. I could stay and tell you more. But sometimes you'll get into overwhelm. I just want you to know what we've been telling you. There are processes you're not aware of that center around that which you think is an emotion, and it is not. Love is not an emotion. It's a state of mind. It's a being. It's an energy that is divine and carries with it multidimensional energy that actually works in your DNA. That's the message. I'm crying in love with you all. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There is so much sacredness here. And the sacredness is generated by the intent of those in the chairs. Anytime a human being will gather with another human being and say, I'm here for one reason, I want to know more. I've heard some wild stories of perhaps things that are beyond my understanding that might change my life, might enhance those things that I would love to enhance. That's why I'm in the chair. And this creates a field in itself. Perhaps there are those of you who could feel that and have felt that and did feel that this morning when you walked in the room. Because of the numbers that are here, there is a field that is generated with intent that is so sacred and so beautiful. And it's seen. Oh, it's seen. You may have heard the premise that when you have a number of people gathered together, that there is enhanced not just abilities and power, but light itself. And with the intent that we are speaking of, it creates a field of light. Now we speak metaphorically, but consciousness truly is a part of the physics that you study today. Is it too much to imagine that intent could be seen multidimensionally? It might even have a color, dear ones. You're very attractive when you're here with intent like this. There are so many different kinds of intent, even here in the room. Even those listening. There's casual intent, I think I'll take a listen. There's intent that wants to cognize everything that is said. I want to know more because everything you've said, Kryon, has either taken place or is happening or is going to happen, and I'm on board. And between those kinds of intent, there's all the shades in between. And dear ones, all of them are appropriate. The one who simply wants to take a look is doing so with free choice. You may take a look and leave and never come back. But in that crack that you took a look, you got to see and feel the idea that you're sacred. And those who wish to cognize what is here and what is coming may enjoy the channel tonight. We told you in the channel before that the title would be this: Who do you think you are? Now that's an expression that humans would often use as an accusation. But the question in the form of the channel tonight is real. And the reason it's being asked at all, right now, the reason, you'll see in a moment. Because who you think you are shapes everything to come. Everything. Let's start this way. Let's start with the objections that some light workers have had about some of the concepts I have presented. And the objections are these: they don't work. Dear Kryon, I've heard you talk for now 20 years, and you've said you must speak to your cells. You talk to your structure, it's listening. And I have. I've got this issue, and I've been working on it, and I talk to my cells, and nothing happens. I've only one thing to conclude: doesn't work. Dear Kryon, I've heard you talk about compassion as being the key to changing those around me, to changing myself, to to all of these things. I've tried so hard to be compassionate. Doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Have you got something else? Dear Kryon, I've heard you speak of God inside. I don't think so. Certainly isn't in my life. I'd like it to be. I really would like it to be. I listen to you and I'd like it to be. But then you finish and nothing's there. I'm about to expose you, oh, ones who would ask the questions. And I ask you, who do you think you are? If you had to draw a list of who you think you are, what's it look like, dear human being? And I will start the list for you. And it's fraught with bias, misunderstanding, disbelief, ignorance, and more. And you don't know it. You don't even know it. It goes like this. Who do you think you are? Okay, I'm male, I'm female, I'm so many years old. Stop. You are, really. That's how old you are. I see you wrote that down in big letters. That's how old you are. So let's discuss age for a moment. What comes with the statement, how old you are? And I'll tell you, a tremendous bias. Right away, you are acting out how old you're supposed to be based upon information that was given to you about others that age. You realize that, don't you? So however old you are, first of all, you're older than you used to be, and you don't like that. That's a bias in itself. Aging is a bias. If you don't like it, it's a bias. You think living for 900 years was a typo in Scripture? Or was it true? How did they do that? And I'll tell you, they never said, I am so many years old. Because age meant nothing. They exist in a body year after year that will age, if you even want to use the word, on its own schedule. But if you are biased enough to put limits on it, you'll go right to the place where medicine says you ought to be. That is one of the biggest biases you have. Who do you think you are? Stop telling people how old you are. Do you realize what this carries with it? If any of you watch your media, have you watched the ads of how you're supposed to feel at a certain age? And what drugs you're supposed to take at a certain age because of how you're supposed to feel at a certain age? It's programming. You are programmed to age poorly. And I just said it. This doesn't simply come from media. It comes from your parents. It comes from school. It comes from society. If you didn't have a stigma on how old you were, would your chemistry be different? Bingo. Yes. Because consciousness is guiding cellular structure. How you believe is being absorbed by your body and acted upon. I'll say it again. You show up at the restaurant called life, and the menu is there, and you give an order. And then you start aging poorly. Dear ones, your food has arrived. You just ordered it, and here it is. It's as simple as that. It's on the menu, and you ordered it. And so you seem to feel a certain way because you have a certain age. Perhaps you have been told aging is a bad thing. So you continually look into the mirror to see if it's a bad thing. And your body knows what you're looking for and cooperates. It's a bad thing. Who do you think you are? Number one, I'm an ageless human being existing on this planet magnificently. I'm an ageless human being existing on this planet magnificently. And my body hears every single word I'm saying. And my cellular structure is clueless on how old I am. So don't give me a birthday party with candles, because we're not counting. I can't tell you how much that would do for you. Who do you think you are? Well, Kryon, I have a genealogy that doesn't really work for me. You see, here's what's happened in my family. Stop. You have just now told your body that any predispositions it might have with genealogy that is inherited is going to manifest. Period. That's what you told your body. And here it comes. Did you know what has been proven? Your genealogy is not in charge. Oh, it will come with inheritance. It will come with perhaps what you will call predispositions. Now, predispositions are there. They may even manifest. But dear ones, that's only if nothing happens around them. The cells of your body are designed to listen to the boss. The cells of your body are designed to listen to the boss. They are ready to be programmed. And the consciousness that you give them is the programming they will respond to better than anything else on the planet. You can program yourself out of any inheritance. Did you know that? Just like you can program your age, and the amount that you age is programmable. The amount of energy you have is programmable. And the programming to your cells comes from that which we call intent. There it is again. Consciousness, intent, can program a human being so that they can last longer, not be attracted to disease, come through life in a way that is spectacular in its peacefulness and its beauty and its elegance, instead of having to suffer through it. Number 3, you don't know what's happened to me, Kryon. No, but you just told your body that whatever's happened is just awful. And that just means that whatever happens is going to age you, and it's going to make you a victim. You programmed yourself to be a victim. And if you didn't, others have. And it just depends upon who you listen to about who is God, what the relationship is, or whether you were born dirty or magnificent. Programmed to suffer. Who do you think you are? Well, so far, you're aging badly, your genealogy is horrible, and you're a victim. Who do you think you are? That's who you think you are. I could go on and on. But here's what I want to show you. If that's who you are, how do you think that one thing that you're going to change is then going to correct everything? So the ones who say, well, that doesn't work, Kryon, give me something better, have already decided who they are. And they're used to a system that is linear. You may call it allopathic, it's not the right word. A system that is linear says this: no matter who you are, no matter what you've suffered, no matter what your genealogy, if you take a pill, it will help. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, it's going to help. And of course, you may have to take it again and again, but you get help. That's not this way. It's not the way it works, dear ones. Not with spirituality. The truth is this: how you think you are and what you believe you are is the precursor to all of the things I teach working. Did I say that correctly? You've got to change your belief before any of these things are going to come to fruition in your life. If you're going to talk to your cells, you can't give me a list that says, here's who I am. Now I'm going to talk to my cells and it's going to change everything. You've got to start at the beginning. And the beauty of this teaching is this. Once you start to cognize the fact that you are magnificent in the eyes of God, of nature, you belong here, everything starts to snap in place. Because truth has that about it. It rings in your body. The cellular structures will, if they could talk, they will say, well, it's about time. What do you have for us today? What's your order today? What's on the menu today? How about health and peace and you name it? What about a system where the years don't matter? That there's no stigma anymore. That your body has to do something at a certain time because you've assigned numbers to it. This is not true. It isn't. And so in this channel, the beauty of the message is this. That when you begin to realize who you are, things start to chain react and they affect others' things in benevolent ways. It's almost like the truth rings in your cellular structure to such a degree, in such a way, the strings on a guitar, for instance, that are tuned together, and you pluck one and the vibration affects the other, and it comes into tune and affects the other, and it starts to vibrate and come into tune. And soon the body gets it. And then all the things you've been telling each string for all these years and all these points, 1, 2, 3, 4, they start to drop away. And you start to realize that just wasn't right. That wasn't right. Here's something we brought up before. This is important, dear ones. It has to do with the integrity of knowledge. This is important. Some of the most profound things you may have learned from your instructors, from your priests, through your shamans, are now starting to drop away in their accuracy. And in that, you feel you will betray them if you cross over to a new truth. That is very real. And you will say, well, but my parents gave me this. And it's what I believe. The mom and dad, they gave me the best they could. It's what I believe. I really loved this pastor I had, and he was just the best man. He's gone now, but I'll always remember what he told me. And that's the way I live my life right now. And suddenly we come along with a whole different idea that goes beyond any of that. And many won't move off that peg because of this. The integrity of the people that you loved who gave you truths that now are starting to slip away. And how do you get through that? Well, there are several ways. Number one, if they're deceased, they now know better. They're here, they're cheering you on. But number two, in your memory, they were giving you in full integrity the best they had. The best they had. And there's nothing wrong with that. If they had what you know today, do you think that they would give that to you? They would. So there's nothing shameful at all or betraying about moving forward and accepting a bigger truth. You control your biology. You control not only how you age and how fast you age, but what happens chemistry as you age. This is so important because part of the scenario is how disease would attach itself to you. I've told you before that as human consciousness starts to evolve to a higher level, it will change the entire body. Because all of your cells are receptors and listening for instructions. And a higher consciousness will give higher kinds of instructions. And in that, eventually, there will be a body that will not accept disease because it's smarter than it used to be. You all understand that you have something called the smart body. And again, I'm going to give you the example of how consciousness works, like homeopathy. You accept homeopathy. Interesting, isn't it, that the fact that this country doesn't have much homeopathy is political. And it's not what you think. It doesn't really have to do with your medicine. It has to do with what happened with the English. When you became Americans and won that war, by the way, you did, you threw away everything European. You threw away their accent, you threw away their medicine, you threw away their religion. You didn't want anything to do with the Church of England. On and on. And part of that was homeopathy. And today when you go to Europe, it's everywhere. And here, it's nowhere. Let's talk about that. Not the fact that it's it's anywhere you want to find it, dear ones, in your country. You can find it. But the idea of it, it's a conceptual idea that works with the body. Again, we tell you this. Listen to this and understand the logic. A tincture is a design of a minuscule chemical that would send a signal to the body of what the one using the tincture is asking for in healing or peace. Not limited only to chemistry. And the science will look at the tincture and say it's too small for a chemical reaction anywhere, anytime. It's simply too small. Therefore, it cannot do anything chemically. And they're right. They're right. And yet it works. So here is the answer to why it works and the truth about it, which will tie right into the theme of who do you think you are? A tincture under the tongue is an instruction set that's designed that under the tongue, sublingually, the body receives and acts on. Did you get that? So no chemical reaction. It is an instruction set, elegantly designed as that which is instructions to the body on what to do. And then the body does it. And homeopathy works. All right, turn the page. I've just shown you something. I've just shown you proof. The body is listening. The cells want instructions. And you can do it several ways. And one of them, proven, is homeopathy. And the other one is with consciousness. What about consciousness, elegantly designed, through words that you would say or thoughts that you would generate, when you answer the questions, who do you think you are? Because the body receives the instructions that you give it through everyday life. Are you a victim or not? What's your genealogy like? How old are you? I tied this into this morning when I said, I want you to forget everything you were told. Everything that would then posture who you think you are. And start over. You want to write a list? Do it. Read it out loud? Do it. Let the body hear it? Do it. I am an ageless human, magnificent, here on purpose to create light. My genealogy is controllable and programmable. And I give it instructions daily. And you go on from there. The things that happen in my life, I have brought to myself. And now, in that I understand it, I will no longer bring negative things into my life. What are your weaknesses? Don't list them. I am afraid of this or that. And instead, you will say the opposite. These are things that used to bother me, which I have conquered. And your body hears it and sees it. And they are simple things. They're habits that you can cure instantly. As easy as my partner did with being seasick all of his life. And in one session, he was no longer. Dear ones, this is the power you have. And it's not simply about ridding yourself of some awful disease. It's everyday life. One of the attributes you might say, I get angry easily. If you said that, and you think that's you, you will get angry easily. I have buttons that people press when they talk about religion and politics. My mother bothers me. I have trouble with my family. And the body hears it all. That's who I am. Who do you think you are? That's who I am. And you think you can come to a meeting and hear something about how to correct this or that and try it and it's going to work? It isn't. Until you start knowing who you are. Coming along with the program shouldn't shock you. Truth is beautiful. You're none of those things you thought you were. The idea of having trouble with this person or that person is reprogrammable. Honestly, I want you to try it. We've said this over and over. To walk into the cauldron of drama that used to bother you with a new attitude and watch what happens when you tell your body, these things are not going to bother me or hurt me. I'm going to have peace and I'm going to see God in those people. That's what I'm going to do. And it takes practice, doesn't it? But it works. Have any of you noticed that when you start doing that, the people that bother you leave? Because they're not getting the reaction anymore. If they can't leave because they're related, they stop bothering you. Because they're not getting the reaction anymore. You've disconnected the button. And so you can stand there and start erasing the things on your list. This person bothers me. I can't do this. I can't do that. And pretty soon you see you have a clean slate of magnificence. And you start to realize, I'm in control. I really am in control. And then you can start talking to yourselves, and then you can start doing the things that we have told you about over and over that work, and they work, and they work. But you can't just walk in as a victim with diseases, knowing their genealogy is awful, aging badly, and expect to plug in these things and have a miracle. Is that offensive to you? Or does it make sense? The biggest one, I said 4 times already. I am born magnificent. I'm here on purpose. I'm here for a reason. I could manufacture light. If there are enough like me on this planet, we'll all manufacture light. And the whole planet is going to change. What about that? Maybe you came here today to hear that. Who do you think you are? I am talking to old souls who can do everything I've said. You've been here and you've done that. You have an Akash that is filled with wisdom of how things work. What I've just given you is not pablum for the soul. It's advanced. But I'm talking to those who I should be talking to, who know of what I speak. I'm in Kryon in love with humanity. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I'm aware of where I am and those who are in the room. Dear ones, I'd like to bring you a message that is similar but different from others that I've given before, about some basic truths and perhaps even some deceptions of the old energy. All of you come from this planet, from the civilization of the time. Every single one of you has experienced what your parents have told you, what others have told you, and you've received instructions. But more than that, you've received concepts and sometimes habits. I want to tell you again that everything I speak of now is moving from the darkness to the light, to resetting and reframing that which is you. Some of the things that I talk about are knee-jerk reactions that are intuitive to what you do because you've always done it. And I'm going to tell you, perhaps, it's a pitfall. And the solution to getting around it, not that difficult, if you wish. I gave you a channel not too long ago about some deceptions, of some things that you learned a certain way and now they're different. I'll continue. But these are more personal. These are not necessarily for the planet, they are for you. They're for the ones listening now, for the ones in the room. And all of these are given with total compassion and honor for the struggle it takes going from one paradigm to another. I want to start with the honoring of the human being and all that you are. All of you listening now, this is an empowering message. They all are. I want to start with number one. What is your thought and your teaching on things which would seem to be competitive? Part of what you think is competitive, you call life. The right job, the right place, how you're seen, what happens if you don't do the right thing. This comes from the energy of teaching, right from those you love. And now I'm going to give you a postulate, dear ones, whereas you might have seen a system of winning and losing, the new paradigm for your life is not that at all. Perhaps you've taught that for every winner there has to be a loser, and that would then emulate the systems of your politics. Winner takes all, every time. And you filter it down to your life and it would seem the same. Winner takes all. You either win it or you lose it. Now I want you to start reframing that, dear ones. And I want you to say this, and I want you to mean this. When you're in trouble, perhaps, and you think in these terms, I'll tell you something that no one ever said to you. There is enough for everyone. There is enough for everyone. There is enough love. There is enough abundance. There is enough food. In this civilization where you are, with your abilities to manifest, for the wisdom that you have as an old soul, for what you've gone through, I speak to old souls now, there is enough for everyone. There is an old adage that says if one accelerates, the other one won't. It's something about the fact that there's somehow limited abundance or limited success or limited money. That is an old paradigm. It is a deception of an old energy. For you and your lives, it's not win and lose. It's win and win. This may be difficult for you to understand. I'm asking you to change the paradigm of your thought. In everyday life, when you see things, there's no winner and loser. There's enough for everyone. Sometimes there would be those who would tell you there's not enough for everyone, and that there would have to be some who would suffer if others had what they needed. This is an old paradigm. It has to do with linear things. It is not esoteric. It has nothing to do with the love of God, your experience. It has nothing to do with that which you are trying to do, which is accelerate into higher consciousness. All of you have that ability. There'll be no losers in this. There won't be some who accelerate and then rob energy so others can't. This is an old paradigm. That's number one. The reason we gave that is there are some here listening who still believe it and had to hear it. And the aha will be there. Really? Yes. When my partner started, he came into this bookstore. This was before Kryon. He came into this bookstore. And he looked around and he saw the plethora of books. All of the titles, all of the teachers, all of the channelers. And when we started to channel with him, one of the things that he said over and over is that there's already channeling. He says, there's no room for another book on their shelves. I've been there. Why should I then contribute to something that already is there, already exists? Why me? They have enough. And then he said the magic words that plague him to this day. He says, they're better than I am. Dear ones, this had to be reframed in his life. That there's enough for everyone. There's enough high consciousness. There's enough enlightenment. All of these things. You limit yourselves because you look around and you say, there isn't this, there isn't that, or therefore, all the things that are linear, all the things that you've been taught. Including, I'm too old. This will never happen for me. Someone had to hear that. That's old thinking. If you start to reframe this and know that there's enough for everyone, your body starts to understand it, cognize it, your consciousness will broadcast it, and your life starts to change. Let me give you the premise of Kryon, which is number 2. You're never alone. When my partner sat in the chair for the first time, it was frightening to him. Because what he felt was not anything that had words connected to it. He didn't hear anything. It was concepts that he felt immediately sitting in the chair after he had asked Spirit, if you're there, show me. Oh, that was so dangerous. It was dangerous because we showed him and his life changed. It was dangerous because he wasn't ready for the paradigm shift that took place. But what he felt made him weep. He realized that when he sat in the chair without saying anything, without realizing anything, he felt dozens around him who loved him, holding his hands. He could feel the light that was there. He didn't know what to do with it. And so he cried. It was overwhelming. It wasn't supposed to be there. For the first time, he realized that he was never alone, had never been alone in his life. And now he walks the planet knowing this, counts on it. It's given him peace. And so I say, what about you? What have you been told is there outside of you? I want you to drop all of that just for a moment and think again of what is there. The complexities of a multidimensional experience are exhaustive. It's too much to understand, to explain. And so we say the simplicity, you're never alone. And truly what we mean by that is that you can't be. You're designed to be with a group. Don't get linear. Don't name the group. Oh, how many? Where are they from? What's their name? The group is part of your soul. It has to be. If you are multidimensional, you are not part of just one thing. You're part of many things. The soul you think is one is many. It has to be. That is the attribute of being multidimensional. It's many yous, if that helps. In many dimensions, if that helps. The group may be you with you, but it's a group. Somehow it's together as one, and many ways it is apart as helpers. What if I told you that your guides were you? Would that diminish them to you? You're never alone. I want you to know that, because many of you feel you are. When you're done with this meeting or this recording, and you go to a place in your house, perhaps, and you want to feel alone, you can't. Go ahead, try it. We'll be there to disturb you. You cannot be alone. You can go into the woe is me. You can do all of the things. You can cry that nobody loves you, and the entourage will just stand around you until you come out of it. We're all there. We have gone through everything you have gone through, dear ones. Not just you with you, not the multidimensional parts of your soul, but the connection you have to Spirit, to God, to all the other souls. Can you imagine how many people are in that room alone with you? I invite you right now to cognize this, to feel it, to understand it. So the next time you might go into that depressive state, wondering why you are who you are, why don't you listen for the answer? When the group uplifts you and wants to light a match, like they do in some concerts, where through the audience you will see all the matches raised in song. I want you to see that, and you're standing in the middle of the arena, and everyone is singing your name. That is reality. You are on this world on purpose, doing an amazing job, and it's difficult. And the support group knows it. And if you allow it, we'll light that match in an arena and sing your name. If for no other reason, to make you know and understand you're here on purpose and you're loved and known by name. You're never alone. Number 3 is a habit. The world is always getting worse. It never gets better. Did you notice? When you listen to television, it's always getting worse. No matter who is interviewed, it's always getting worse. What did your parents tell you? It's always getting worse. When you gather around and talk about the planet or the pieces and parts of your own society, you know, don't you? It's always getting worse. That means it's a downhill road, doesn't it? It means there's no hope, doesn't it? This is a habit. Somehow by saying those things, it enhances you in the old energy. Because others feel the same way. You have something to commiserate with, to. You can unite in that which is worsedom. Everything is always getting worse. If you pipe up and say, well, yeah, but I think this is getting better, your friends will look at you and say, you're wrong. What's wrong with you? You may even create a distance between you and your friends because things are not always getting worse for you. And that is the point. The old energy and the new energy, sometimes they clash. They don't come together. Sometimes it will take this for those to leave the conversation or wish you weren't there because you're not striking the doom that they want. Don't you know better? After all, the world's always getting worse. It isn't, dear ones. In fact, what is going on this planet right now is a readjustment of light and dark, a reevaluation, a reframing of human consciousness that will take some time. In the process, we've discussed what the planet is going through, what the weather is going through, the preparation for a new consciousness, what it's going through. We've talked about the wild cards that have come in to stir things up for you. We've talked about many kinds of shocks to some who will say, see, it's worse and worse, and at the same time you realize that these things, what they think are worse, is simply because they're changed from what they had. Changed from what they had. Sometimes change itself means that things are getting worse. What do you do? What can you do? Dear ones, all you can do is to drop the box that you were taught in, to understand and cognize the shift that is going on that was prophesied by the ancients is the most positive thing that has ever happened to humanity. You're part of it. You sit in it. You're the old soul who's going to experience it. So start to give it lip service. And if not to those friends who want to say it's getting worse, perhaps to your children, perhaps to others who will listen. If not, then perhaps to a tree. Celebrating the fact that this planet is going through readjustment that may be difficult or seem like it's getting worse, but it is not. Celebrating light that hasn't happened here before. When light occurs and it hasn't happened, people are afraid. Because it's different, because it has energy, because it makes things look different, and that creates fear. It's easy to say things are getting worse. Dear ones, they're not. Not anymore. In the old paradigm, maybe so, but not now. In fact, the turnaround is just beginning. That's the solution. But I still ask you, watch for the habit. And if you're with friends you love and they have the habit, just don't chime in. You can say to yourself, every time they say it's getting worse, you can say, that's just what you think. In your mind, of course. When they start talking about the itemization of what makes it worse, you can say, well, that's just what you think. In your mind, of course. And in that way, you sit there and you don't participate with them. But you can still be with them. That was number 3. Number 4, perhaps, is the hardest. It's a habit, and that is you let other human beings define you and control your life every day. Every day. Not understanding that you have completely total free will, not to buy into what they say or fear the ramifications of what they say. They may do. It happens at home, it happens at work. It's society-wide. It has to do with not only the infrastructure, but who's in charge and who is not, whether it's at home or at work. And what someone says then affects you. Dear old soul, it's time to drop this completely and understand that no human being, no matter what they say, as they look in your eyes, can affect you. In the past, how many of you do you think got disease because of what others told you? Or what they put you through on a regular basis? And you died young and didn't have to because you bought into it. This is one of the greatest deceptions of an old energy, that other human beings can define you and affect you. If you let them, they will. Dear ones, if somebody starts to tell you things you don't want to hear or demeans you, and if it's an inappropriate situation and you can't leave, you do not have to respond. You can tune them out. You can shine your life. I am magnificent. This is not me. What they're saying is their issue, coming right out of their mouth, targeted at me. Did you ever think of that? Everything they say to you is their issue, targeted at you, has nothing to do with you. Can you disengage to the point where somebody can yell names at you and you are not feeling a thing? And if you can, congratulations. That's free choice. By the way, you'll live longer. Humans can cause other humans to die sooner and have disease. That's just the way of it. Because in an old energy, you buy into it, you fret about it, you fear, you worry. Kryon, you don't understand. This is my boss. Then get another boss. That is what we're telling you. If it's happening at home, you're going to have to reframe your own resistance to changing it. Perhaps it's a habit that you can't break. Let me tell you something. That doesn't exist. In this new energy with the light, that doesn't exist. You can break any habit at this point in time. You have more power for this than any time. There's more light. There's more help. The wind is at your back. You can stand in front of a constant abusive person and not feel anything except being sorry they're having a bad day. Whatever they say, they're echoing who they are to you. And you don't have to buy into it. Many needed to hear this. Because that is where the crux, perhaps, of your discomfort right now is. That they will tell you you're nothing or demean you. And for some unbelievable reason in your magnificence, you believe it. That can change today. That is free choice. That's power, real power. The last one, number 5, is similar. Did you realize that when you center around groups of people and you start talking about other people or situations and you start complaining, it's a habit. Dear ones, I want you to reframe your conversation. If you cannot say something positive, don't say it. I want you to watch what happens. Number 1, your friends may stop being your friends. That's not an all bad thing. Find other friends who will speak more positive. But I want to tell you something, that everything you say and every situation you set up with your complaints is heard by your cellular structure. And in that, it's destructive. This is an energy, dear ones, that you are telling your body and the field and everything around you, almost like you're ordering an energy that's going to come and be delivered to you. We've said that before. But complaining perhaps is one of the chief issues that will come back on you over and over. It's a negative attitude that will sow seeds of negativity that will be in you. Did you know that? Complaining is a habit. You say, my whole society complains. Is that the reason why you should complain? It is not. It truly is not. It does not make you a better person to join in that which is complaining. I told you these truths would be personal, and today they are. It is not up to you to rewrite anyone else's program, but yours. I want you to think about that the next time you have an opportunity to complain about something that perhaps is complainable about. What can you do? You can think positive about yourself, about the situation, about that which others would complain about, and look at the other humans involved who may very well not know the habit that they are in as well. Can you see God in everything? Can you see God in other human beings? If you complain about situations, could you understand why situations might be there? Or there's no control. Can you see the upside or the light in any of these? This is not a silver lining on a cloud. Dear ones, this is a paradigm shift of thinking and speaking and consciousness. That's what it is. So what we're telling you is it's a habit to create conversations that literally will make you have a shorter life. It's a habit. If your cellular structure is at peace with itself and your consciousness is at peace with itself, this is the secret to youthing. It truly is. My partner says that many times he continues to wake up at 3 a.m. He used to do that. And there was a laundry list of things to worry about. Is this doable? Oh, yes. The more you do this, the easier it gets, until there's a time when you will wake up at 3 a.m. and realize there is nothing there that is too big for the love of God, or the synchronicity in your life, or for the old soul, and you'll be asleep again immediately. And that's the secret, and that's the solution. Understand your magnificence and your mastery, the can-do of what is in your body, the control you have of you in any situation, and knowing you are totally and completely loved, worthy, and you belong here. That's the message for tonight. There is some rewriting to do, isn't there? There are some things that have to be shifted and changed as taught to you so long ago. If you're a young parent listening to this, I will tell you that everything that I have just given you is for your children. They'll see it in you. Depends on how you teach them. So no message like this would ever have to be given to them, ever in their lives. Because after you are gone, they will remember mom and dad as being positive about the future and about what is possible with the human being. You can shape a life forever in your positiveness. And it's not just being positive. That's the reality of the light in the planet today. This message is given in love for a changing human being, for one that is trying to drop the old paradigms and habits, and will do so. I've been here before, dear ones. I've been in societies going through this before, dear ones. I know what you're going through. I know where this is going. More than doable. It creates new human beings. You will surprise yourself in what you can do that you couldn't do before. Because today is different than yesterday.